morning, good evening and good night. My name is Alpha Hindle Bacchus and today I'll be running you through a detailed breakdown on A Quiet Place directed by John Krasinski in 2018, and we're going to be looking at the link between audio and visual shown within the film and how through my expert analysis we will understand this more and understand why a film should be doing this in the future. Now, as mentioned, A Quiet Place was directed by John Krasinski in 2018 and was released to high praise from many critics. Time magazine said the film was a poetic horror movie, while We Got This Covered states John Krasinski orchestrates a loud and ferocious symphony of sonic scares that will assert A Quiet Place as one of the year's most terrifying films. This high level of praise got me thinking, is this film as good as many people say it is? Now I know what you're all going to say, however I was young when I first watched this, so I gave A Quiet Place another chance and re-watched it in the current day. I was astounded. Honestly, the links between sound being heard and what is shown on screen is a clever yet subtle choice which works well with how the movie wants to be perceived. Now, let's stop yapping and get into the dissection. Now, starting off, let's discuss the sound within A Quiet Place. The sound within A Quiet Place was always intended by the director to be the main focus of the film, while also motioning the story in the correct direction. We were made to feel constantly on edge with the lack of sound, as if at any moment one of the strange creatures could pop up. Often when it comes to horror films in the current generation, or even previous, we see a common theme of horror films being quite brassic and loud with common sound cues, letting the audience know when a plot point is coming up. It has been a horror trope that has lasted in the genre for decades, and A Quiet Place challenges that with its subtle yet immersive sound design. This completely contrasts the conventions of previous horror movies within the same subgenre. In such scenes as when the main characters are hiding from the creatures, we see them come into view of the audience before we hear the distinctive clicking noises they are associated with. This is why the sound design in this film plays such a pivotal role in setting A Quiet Place aside from its competition. Not only does the sound itself break normality with how it's created, it further destroys previous conventions within the horror genre in regards to how sound should be portrayed. Whether that is breathing, instrumentation, or other outside factors, your understanding of how to tear down these barriers is what has made this film a cult classic already, as it sets itself aside while not deviating from what the genre itself is and should be about. Now, in this topic, we will be discussing how the sound design in A Quiet Place is created and is portrayed on screen, and how those sounds are created by using what you may know as Foley sound. The sound itself was worked on and designed by E2 Sound's Ethan van der Aar and Eric Adahal. These two sound designers worked tirelessly on this project and made sure that everything for the film was perfect. They worked closely with director John Krasinski as they wanted the sound to match perfectly with what was being portrayed on screen. Now, while researching this topic, I found a brilliant video by Insider that details all the trials and tribulations that E2 Sounds went through, and also how they made the sounds themselves using Foley sound, which is something I'm so very interested in. And it was also shown in the previous YouTube video by a content creator called Dead Meat. You should definitely check him out if you want to see more about that and have a more detailed understanding of that. He describes it immensely, but this video about Insider is what I'm getting a lot of my understanding about now, and I think it's an incredible video. You should definitely go watch it for yourself. Now, from the video, we see both men and all sound designers using everyday objects to create the sounds for the monsters, such as celery being pulled and twisted and lobster legs being crunched together. This is a very aware form of Foley sound that has been used for decades with many different directors, employing Foley sound designers to work their magic for the audio on their films. This is due to the incredible amount of creativity that is needed when it comes to such a job, and how creative they can get with doing each sound. Now, let's get into the meat and biscuits of what this video is about, the link between audio and visual in the film A Quiet Place. Now, when we look at the links between visual and audio in A Quiet Place, it is very distinct from a lot of other films within the same genre of theatrical horror. This has been stated since the very first trailer came out to the present day. Now, to better understand the links in this film, I'm going to break this down. In all movies and films, the audio has to clearly link with what is being portrayed on screen. A film can function fine if the visual storytelling and cinematography isn't perfect, but the sound corresponds well to what is being displayed. Whereas, if the sound is poor quality, unlinked from the visual, then this affects the film in ways that can be difficult to fix. The audio behind the film and visuals portrayed must always link no matter what. No matter what. They must always come hand in hand no matter the difference. For a film to work at its full potential, this needs to be the maximum priority for directors and large production studios. Clear-cut cases of this include Interstellar and Inception, both made by Christopher Nolan. These films are both cinematic masterpieces when it comes to how they are filmed. Their plots are intense and thrilling as well as thought-provoking. However, often during major moments in both films, we hear some odd sound mixing and moments where the music drowns out any sort of dialogue or any other interesting effects this movie has given us. Things like this cause some pretty serious issues for some studios and film watchers. Christopher Nolan has a bad case of doing this, as he has done this in The Dark Knight as well. Now, although these films are all very good and people often mention them as top-end films, the sound mixing and lack of link between visual and audio is what prevents them from reaching the heights they were once predicted. Now, if we were to mention a much funnier example of this, I would highly recommend going watching Birdemic. It's so funny. One of the most awful pieces of sound and visual storytelling I've ever seen, with some horrifyingly funny CGI included. Honestly, go check it out. It's really funny. Now, moving back to A Quiet Place, the sound is always directly linking to what is being shown on screen. This is what a film should include. Whenever we talk about films with good sound mixing, we should always think of movies that caught our attention and kept us gripped, not only by what was on screen, but what was adhering at the same time. A Quiet Place does this with intense vigour, and it does exactly what it cuts out to do. The links between audio and visual within A Quiet Place are endless, as every single scene explores a new avenue of sound design and how they are mixing that with what's on screen. I heavily implore you, as a viewer, to next time that you watch A Quiet Place, to closely pay attention to the sound mixing while also trying to connect with what's on screen. You'll see this masterpiece within a whole new light. A Quiet Place is an intriguing insight into what you do to have to get great sound and great visuals to mix together to create an overall link between the pair. And it pulls it off better than a majority of other films. So, in conclusion, A Quiet Place is a very intense film. It explores an old technique in silent filmmaking and builds on that, introducing new elements from the modern day of film. And it does this wonderfully. It breaks common codes and conventions of horror and suspense movies and then creates new ones that other films have since tried to replicate. But most of all, the sound design has changed the way films have been looked at over the years since this movie released. The way the sound was created was groundbreaking, and the understanding of new sound that is filtered into new cinema was astounding. People will look on this film years into the future and see how it changed the landscape of sound for the better. I believe this film will be a pillar for future suspense movies created and a base for other filmmakers to build on. So overall, I believe A Quiet Place has changed sound design, and I also believe that A Quiet Place has shown many people how the link between audio and visual is something to be focused on in films for the future. Now, I hope after watching this video you take the time out of your day to re-watch or watch for the first time A Quiet Place. If it is your first time watching, just enjoy the film. It has a good plot, it's very intriguing, and grips you from start to finish. However, if you've already watched it, I heavily implore you to go and look for the things I have mentioned, as it will make you appreciate the film more than you'll ever come to realise. Anyways guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. I will be coming out with more videos like this in the future, and I really hope you stick around and watch it. I love doing stuff like this. I love analysing, breaking down films and certain points of films that I feel like really need to be focused on. So I appreciate every single watch. I won't disappoint you anymore, and I won't keep you here for too much longer. But thank you guys so much. Take care. Also, watch Birdemic. It's a masterpiece.